Welcome to PWS United, a podcast for the Prader-Willi syndrome community, brought to you by PWSA USA. This podcast gives the latest news in research, advocacy, and family support by bringing together staff, volunteers, PWS treatment specialists, biotech and pharmaceutical representatives, caregivers, family members, and individuals with PWS. Our goal is to share education, awareness, and resources with those living with PWS and their supporters. Join us in our mission to enhance the quality of life and empower those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome.
Welcome to another episode of PWS United. So Carrie and I recently put out a call to the community for single caregivers willing to share their experiences on the podcast. November is National Family Caregivers Month, and while we honor and recognize all family caregivers, of course, we wanted to pay special attention to our single caregivers, to create a space for them to share the challenges of their journey, offer a glimpse into their lives and where they find or are looking for support, or any advice or words of wisdom they may have for other single caregivers. On today's episode, Carrie and I spoke with two moms, Mandy, who is mom to Samantha, 5 and living with PWS, and Lynn, whom you may know as Nurse Lynn, who is mom to John, who is almost 20 and also living with PWS. Some of what we discuss will resonate with many of you, whether or not you're a single caregiver or not. And other points speak directly to the issues of being a single caregiver, like carrying the mental load all day, every day, no break. The isolation, sometimes self-imposed. Trusting others to care for your loved ones so you may find a piece of yourself again. Or simply finding time for a much-needed nap. We also talk about how and why to give yourself grace, adapting the in-home culture to fit the needs of the family, and having pride in what is created. This episode is the first of our mini-series focusing on single caregivers, and it is a beautiful, insightful look into a few of the many, many, many ways that families are created. So I want to give Mandy and Lynn a special thank you for talking with Carrie and I so openly and sharing with the rest of the community. These conversations are incredibly important. But 2 things before we get into it. 1, in this episode, we do mention the benefits of a Facebook group for single caregivers. So I just want to let you guys know that that is in the works, and we will be sure to let you know when that is up and running. The other is a possible book recommendation. I have to say possible because I have not read this book myself, but it was recommended by a friend. So 2 or 3 times a week, I walk with a friend while our girls are in basketball practice. And that is a little side plug for a self-care activity. It's a great time for me to get my steps in. So I have this lovely friend who I've known for a number of years, and we go walking. So this friend has been a single mom for about 11 years now, since her daughter was 2. I was telling her about this podcast series, and she mentioned a book that she absolutely loved when her daughter was little. It fit the conversation, so I wanted to share it with you all. It's called Love is a Family by Roma Downey. It does look like a kid. It is a kid's book. So pulling from the internet, here is the description of the book. Irrepressible young Lily loves her mother dearly, but when it's time for family fun night at her school, she worries and worries. What will the other kids think when she just brings her mother? Will they be the strangest family there? But when they arrive at family fun night, Lily sees all her friends having fun with their families, of every shape, size, and color. She learns that there are as many ways of showing love as there are stars in the sky. In this enchanting, beautifully illustrated story, beloved actress Roma Downey shows children that family should not be defined by mother, father, and child, but by love. So there you go. If you needed a book recommendation, it's there. I did look up a few links. I was looking up the book. If you don't know about thrift books, that's a great website to get used books, and I found a few copies there for less than $10. You can also, of course, find this book on Amazon, but for some reason, it was close to $40. So I don't know if that speaks to the quality of the book or to Amazon. There is a link for that as well. Maybe you can find a cheaper copy. Also, and this is my plug, if you haven't heard about this app yet, it's called Libby, Libby. And this is an app that connects to your local library. So you will need a library card, which is a great thing to have anyway. So if you don't have one, go get a local library card, and then you get on the Libby app, and then you have access to all of the ebooks, audiobooks. You can get it on your Kindle, on your phone, whatever. So that's a great way to support your local library and have access to books that, rather if you don't have the time to go to the library, you can get it digitally. So that's just an idea, and I'll put an app to that as well. Also, I just did a preliminary search, Love as a Family, Roma Downey, Roma. And there are some YouTube videos of people reading this book. Yeah, so there's many ways to find this book. And it sounds like just a lovely book for all families. Just a reminder that families and people come in so many diverse ways, and that is one of the many beautiful aspects of humanity, I think. So that was a quick little PSA from my friend Andrea. And if you get the book and you love it, let us know. Let us know how it is. But for now, let's get into today's episode with Mandy and Lynn. We will be back with the second part of the series in a few weeks with some other parents. Stay tuned to our socials and our polls for the announcement of the Single Caregivers Facebook group. And until then, I hope you all are doing well. And please enjoy this episode. We're here with Lynn and Mandy. Nurse Lynn, remind me again how old John is.
John is going to be 20 next month.
And how long have you been a single caregiver?
Since he was 1.
So most of the time?
Yeah.
Okay. And we have Mandy as well. Mandy, can you let us know about your little one with PWS?
Yes, Samantha. She just turned 5 in September.
And how long have you been a single caregiver?
From the very beginning. Like, I do this alone or I don't do this. So those are my choices. And I didn't know, obviously. At the time, I didn't even think I could have kids. So it was a huge surprise to even get pregnant in the first place. And then, I was like, okay, I can do this. And it was a bigger undertaking than I expected, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to start with this question, which, I'm just kind of wondering, because when we were putting out the language for this and like inviting people to come on, I was just wondering, like, does it ever feel uncomfortable to talk about being a single caregiver? Does it ever feel taboo, or like, are there ever spaces you're in that you're less likely to talk about that? Do you feel like there's kind of a societal thing around it, or are we past that?
I personally feel like I am past that. I don't ever have a problem saying, yes, I'm single, and I'm a single parent. No, I think maybe years ago I might have been more, I don't know. No, I've never been reluctant to say that or felt uncomfortable.
Good.
The only time I find it challenging is I have actually tried to date and to put myself on the apps and do the thing. And that is when the conversation gets difficult because there's this weird stigma like, why are you single at this point? I don't know. There's just a lot of judgment there. But other than that, outside of that, no, I'm not reluctant to share it. I'm actually proud of that. And I think people respect it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I imagine dating like on the apps as a single parent, but then also to have a child with a disability. There's probably a whole nuance to like when that comes up and how you talk about it.
Usually comes up sooner than I would like it to because the first question everyone always asks is, what do you do? And that is like something that ends up being a 4-paragraph answer. And then I'm like, I shouldn't have told them everything because I'm an IHSS caregiver. Like, that's what I do now. So there's no real way to dance around it for too long. I just keep telling myself for the right person, it's not going to matter. So.
Yeah, I like that you just come right out with it. I think that that's amazing and wonderful. And you're proud of it, and you should want your partner to be proud too. So
Thanks.
It's a good way to weed through a quick and easy way to weed through who's going to be worth your time and who's not.
Definitely. And it's easier to talk to, like, I tried doing the single parent dating app thinking that another single parent is going to be more sympathetic to a lot of the things I go through in life. That ended up not entirely being the case, but I still have that theory that maybe somewhere that's true. Just not so far.
Well, thank you both for sharing some details into that. I know that was something that Annie and I really wanted to check on and check in about, kind of if there is still that taboo or that uncomfortable feeling when discussing it. But it's wonderful to know that that's not typically the case, at least. That's great. Would you say that there are other challenges that come with it, and what maybe some of those main ones are?
Being a single parent?
Being a single caregiver, yes.
All everything is magnified. You're doing it by yourself and you don't have someone to say, I need to take a nap. I got to tap out right now. I can't do it anymore. And that you're the person that's on 24/7. So I think that's the difficulty. You don't have that other person, your partner, to rely on for that extra support and just to parent. It's you. Learning as you
100%.
go.
That's the mental load. And I mean, mind you, I think from what I've heard from people who are mothers as part of a couple, a lot of times mothers will carry the bulk of the mental load anyway. But like at all times throughout the day, you're thinking, how much have they had to drink? When did they last poop? What did what do I need to pick up for dinner? What did I do? Like, all the chatter, it never quiets when you're a single parent because there's nobody else to take any of that off your plate. But like I say, I'm not really sure if I know moms who that's still true and they have a partner. But this is something where like I feel like I've done some soul searching in advance of dating. Like, what do I actually need a partner for? Because I'm managing this. I know I don't love doing this alone. That would not be my choice, but I'm managing. So where do I really wish I had someone? And I think the emotional support piece of it, because there's the heartbreak, the triumphs, like the little things that, you tend to not call your friends up and be like, she went poop on the potty. But you want to celebrate that when you know what a big deal it is, how huge it was to get to that point. You wish there was somebody there to celebrate those wins or to just support you when you're grieving, because there's a lot of grief involved in this. That's definitely a unique piece of it.
Yeah, that's so well said. Tapping into the emotional side of it. I think it's something very profound. And I'm sure many others, if not everyone, in this similar shoes feels that way. So thank you for opening up about that. Is there any other challenges that come with like any other family dynamics or anything like that that you've felt or experienced?
I mean, it's always uncomfortable a little bit at school related
Mm,
things. And of course, I'm just starting to dive into this because she's in TK.
sure.
But she has been in a class for 2 years now for preschool. And just any functions related to that, it's all of these duos of parents. And I'm always the only single parent in the room. I don't love that. Just also, I think those moments when like you're sick, that is some of the hardest times to be a single parent. I mean, Lynn touched on that, when you're like, I need a nap, I need a break, any of those things, you're on your own.
Yeah.
I think maybe for me too, coming from John as my number 5 of 5 child, right? So he has 4 other siblings, is the sibling aspect when you're parenting. How do you carve out time to build those relationships with your other children, because so much of the time has to be dedicated to my son John. I have to be with him. I have to do this, you guys. I'm sorry. So relying on other people to bring your children to sporting events or all of those other things that you have to manage when you have multiple children, and I never wanted them to feel left out or not given enough mom time or time to develop those relationships. And so I think for some people, myself, I will always carry kind of that guilt of not being able to spend that good, what I would consider quality time with each one of my other children at the same level. And how that may or may not have affected them. I don't know. I've offered to pay for their therapy. Hey, I'll pay for your therapy, my parenting. I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can. But I think that was hard for me. Still is.
To be fair, I've offered to pay for my children's therapy as well. And sometimes that's because her dad and I are still together.
Your
um,
children just gonna need therapy. I'm saving now.
yeah. Yeah. No, I guess I hadn't really thought about, yeah, that aspect of the siblings. And because I would say, my husband's very present, but, I do most of the emotional labor as far as Freya is concerned when the school and the doctors and blah, 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 and the day-to-day stuff. But that is another element of like, it's easier for me to have time with her sister. It's kind of built in. There's that built in, like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And so, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
And I suppose, too, another thing is friendships. I didn't have time for friends anyway because I had so many kids. But when you think about parenting a special needs child and some with higher behavior or whatever needs you have, it can be somewhat isolating because you have to be present and you don't have time to go like, hey, let's go hang out and do this friend stuff, or even with friends with other children. And this was just a me thing. That's going to be a lot of work. And you know what, my kid, my John might, do certain things that might, shock you. And I just I couldn't handle that. So I self-isolated and kind of let some friendships just go by. And then that just kind of became my normal, is just, I don't know, just taking everything on and not sharing with my friends or even sometimes my family. I need help. I just kind of isolated. I will just do this because I don't have time to maybe even ask for help. And now I can just do it type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the catch-22 about it. It's like you want the connection and the support, but number one, if all the other moms are getting together for a spontaneous thing, you're like, well, I can't leave my kid at home. There's not someone to leave them with. And then if it is my mom friends with neurotypical kids, a lot of the activities are things that I'm just like, I have a kid that elopes. That sounds so stressful. That doesn't sound fun and relaxing as a hang. I would love to be part of it if I didn't have her with me, but that's not an option. So yeah, you need the support, but it's actually extra isolating. It's also if you're somebody that has trouble asking for help, like I definitely do. I hate asking for help. I always have. And this has just been like one of those tough life beating you across the head. Like, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to ask for help when you need it, because you're already so disconnected and isolated that if you don't ask, no one will be there.
Being a single parent and a single parent of a unique individual with a rare diagnosis, you have to step out of your comfort zone every single day. It just becomes part of your normal. And even finding a babysitter, you can't just call up the kid down the street or whatever. Maybe you can't even leave them with your parents, or because they just don't understand. Yeah, it's difficult, but we navigate somehow. We have to. Otherwise, I'd be in the corner, rocking back and forth.
Have this community online. I mean,
Yes.
so many people that are present and active, and it is really just comforting to know that at any point I can jump in one of the groups and say, hey guys, I'm going through this thing, and people are so supportive there. So that is wonderful.
I think that has been one of the nicer things for the younger parents too, is the development of these social network groups. I guess I didn't have that, or that wasn't around. But the great thing about all these, Facebook groups, social media, whatever you're on, is that you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to worry about who's going to watch my child or how am I going to coordinate this. If I'm having a tough day or I just need to vent, I can just type on my computer or on my phone, and I have access to people who get me, who know exactly what I'm going through, and I don't have to explain anything. And I get support that way.
Yeah, that is a connection too, that has gotten me friendships where we can actually hang in the real world, not just online. And I feel like my fellow PWS moms get me in a way that the other moms just kind of can't. It's such a unique experience.
I think I almost felt sometimes, I don't know if jealous or just, of my peers that had kids around the same time that John was born. And I just kind of felt, your kid's walking, my kid's not, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I just felt, I don't know, some type of way.
I that around the start of school, because I'm like, everybody, it seems so easy. They just send school and that's it. It starts. And for me, it's like, oh my God, I have to educate an entire new classroom of people. We need to have a binder. We need to have a meeting. We need to set this up and that up. And it's such a thing. And everyone's like, oh, back to school. That's where I have that experience.
Yeah. Then on the age thing, 3 of my closest friends had babies. We all had babies within 5 months of each other. They were all girls. So I had 3 clear examples of what Freya was not doing. And every time we'd get together, we'd take a group picture. And for years, like, those pictures would come up on their phones and they would send them out like, oh, remember this? And I finally had to say, I don't like seeing those pictures. That was not an easy time for me. They make me sad. Please stop sending them to me. And then as far as school goes, I mean, it gets easier, I feel like. In my experience, it's gotten easier, but Freya's been at the same school since kindergarten, but she is starting high school next year, and her classmates are all like, it's just going to be a very different experience for them. And I realized that we are kind of at this part in the road where now we are stepping clearly off into the world of disability, and like her peers are going the other way. And yeah, those transitions are really hard. And I'm sure more challenging when you don't have that support that's like in your home for all of those moments.
Well, and I think, being a woman and being single, parenting a boy with Prader-Willi syndrome, you do realize that the opposite sex partner, whatever, my husband, that how to relate to John as a man or as whatever that, and my other children too. But there's something about that was missing that I could not provide, or how to deal with certain situations. I don't know. Our brains are just different, and I think that was a little bit missed, but I don't know. We're surviving. We do what we do.
You do it so well. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of you both.
I
And
don't know about that.
I am, though.
We survive. I have to give myself a lot of grace, At the time, you just do what you can do, and that's all you can do.
I
Yeah.
think that's true for all of us too. It's like,
Yeah.
if it does get easier with time, but in the beginning, I understand like why this is not a one person job. Parenting in general is not supposed to be a one person job, and this is next level. So, yeah, I definitely had those moments where I'm like, I can't do this, but I have to. And you do that enough times, but I have to, but I have to, but you start to, it's sort of like running the half marathon, you can't just like get dropped into it and go run it and think like this is easy. But if you do it all the time, the average person can't do it, but you're doing it every day. So eventually it does become
Yeah.
easier. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it becomes easier.
We are conditioned in a way that most people aren't. Like my normal is pretty much nobody else's normal. My normal would look, what? What are you doing? What have you done? How, what? But that's our normal. Somehow we have been conditioned.
There are ways in which I'm really proud of the normal that I've created for my little family of me and her. I mean, when I think about, okay, we're coming up on Halloween, right? Every holiday is about candy. I never thought about how many holidays were about candy until I had a PWS child. So I'm reinventing it, just like I'm sure all of you have done with your kids, where you find your way through it. We have the Switch Witch that comes and takes all the candy. So now, Halloween's not all about candy, it's about other things. And my parent friends, my mom friends, and ones that have kids that don't have Prader-Willi are often like, wow, I love that you reinvented that holiday. And sometimes they even adopt some of the new traditions into their own families because it's just healthier, not even just like Easter, we hunt for, last year it was little gemstones because my daughter loves gemstones. I love gemstones. So I hid them in little plastic eggs, and that became our Easter egg hunt thing. Anyway, I'm proud of those ways in which I've been able to make those holidays work for her. And I like sharing them with people because they seem to sometimes inspire.
It's very timely with all the holidays coming up. We're obviously in holiday season, but we also were going to ask you both what a PWS parenting hack is that might be like essential to you and how you operate in your home. So that is such a good one. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit, Annie, but I would love for Lynn to share something that has worked for her as well, as we're kind of on the subject.
That's a really good
Not to
question.
put you on the spot, Lynn.
Right? I don't even know because, I mean, as far as meals concerned, I don't have parenting hacks. I fly by the seat of my pants. I don't
It's
know.
okay too.
We, as a family, we would sit down and eat, and we'd always clear the table, do the dishes right away. And well, that helped. I don't know. That's not really a hack. That's just kind of what you do. I have no hacks. I fly by the seat of my pants.
And I think that's okay too. And I actually love that you say it
Yeah.
because I feel like if I was listening to this in, a single caregiver perspective, I would feel like it's okay if I don't, have everything figured out or even minimal things figured out. I can just keep doing what I do day to day and make it work. So I love that you said that. Yeah.
I think we already from the get go are doing parenting differently out of necessity. And at the point at which you can almost lean into that and go, okay, how else can I adapt the culture inside my home to fit what she needs instead of just relying on we need to keep up with culture the way it is outside of our home, whether it's holidays, doing holidays a little differently, or I don't know, just how we celebrate things, how we do even like quote unquote punishments or consequences. We have to figure what works for our kids. So when we're looking outside of ourselves and like, okay, that's the standard way of doing things is not going to work here, then you can get creative and find the things that do work.
Lynn, I have a question about siblings, which I think could apply to. I mean, I guess I'm asking this question because I have three daughters, but Freya has a little sister that's very close in age. I do find myself at times, maybe she has a little more responsibility than she would have because, I'm not a single parent, but her dad is a crab fisherman. There are times where he's gone for chunks at a time. So sometimes I am physically the only parent for days on end. And so I now that they're old enough, I find myself kind of relying a little bit because I'm like, well, at least Rona's here. And so I try and find that balance. But was that something that you found that you had to kind of be aware of, or were the siblings like, hey, I'm here. We're part of this family. This is easy. We can step up.
It's I have two different answers because I always went the opposite way with my thinking. I always thought I don't want this. This is your sibling. This isn't your child. I want you, all of you other kids, to just go out and do your thing. I don't want you to think that you have to be a parent. I'm the parent. And so I kind of was always there, but they were amazing. They all brought their friends around. John was always included in everything that they did. So I was very, very lucky. It was just like, this is my brother. Don't bring food into the house. You know what? If he elopes, because he was an eloper, everybody's out on their bikes looking for John. We had a whole little thing. And so for them, he was really included. And they did offer, hey, Mom, if you want to go out, we'll watch him for the night. Like, oh, thank you. I didn't take them up enough, I don't think, on that because I didn't want them to feel that was what I didn't want to be that mom that just or asked too much. I don't know what too much was for me, but.
And I find that with Rona too. Like Rona steps in a lot when she sees that like the tension's building or whatever. And I feel like I'm constantly reminding her like, hey, you don't have to, this isn't your situation to handle. Like you don't have to be here. But I think there's, something special about the
There's
siblings.
something very special about siblings. They're what I call my Prader Willie whispers. The siblings have a very unique relationship where they can just do stuff with him and say things to him that I would never get away with saying. And it's been really beautiful to see how they step up and offer to help. And they're all in those fields of caregiving themselves as adults, my other children. And I think I know what they would all say is it's only because of John that I'm able to do this. And now I see the struggles of people and I want to help other people out. So I think that goes both ways. It can either some kids can kind of get resentful of all the attention and stuff. And I don't know. It's luck of the draw that my kids they were very good, very good with John, and they still are. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a testament to your parenting and you as a person
it's
as well.
It's parenting by neglect. They raised themselves. So yeah, it's nothing I did. They're good kids. Maybe that's the key. I don't know.
So, switching gears a little bit, if there was a transition period for either of you transitioning from a multi caregiver household to a single caregiver household, what did that look like? Or maybe, Mandy, in your case, what was that like when you first got into it yourself?
For me, the biggest transition in that regard was when I got the nanny that I now have for her,
Oh.
who is amazing. I got
Mm.
her actually, I met another PWS mom through one of the online communities when I moved to this area. She's a mile away. And this is the woman who was a caregiver for her daughter for years. So she was already super familiar with PWS. And
Oh.
she's just an amazing human being. And it was such a game changer to have somebody who could actually reduce some of the mental load. Like Kristen takes some of the mental load off. She keeps track of all the things that I would keep track of. She makes decisions in the ways that I do. I joke that she's my co-parent sometimes, but it's the closest thing I have, and now I can actually go away overnight. Like, there have been times I went to a retreat for a week. My mom and Kristen pretty much tag teamed and just to take care of Sammy during that time. I could not have done that. The first couple of years, it was just me all day, every day. Even though I was surviving, like I was just surviving. I was not thriving. So it was such a game changer to get help in that regard.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad that you found that. And I think we talk about it, or we talked about it a lot last year during November as National Family Caregivers Month, to almost be willing to trust someone. Yes, they need to learn how to help your loved one as a kind of a special case, but Lisa Graziano came on and did a webinar, and basically the message was you just have to be willing to be open and trust someone to come and help and know to ask for that help. So it sounds like that worked really well in your case. Obviously, the person knowing about PWS is incredibly helpful,
Yeah,
but kind of being willing to bring them in and bring them and make them part of your routine.
I had caregivers throughout those first couple years
Mhm.
periodically, but it was an entirely different kind of thing because, the first one, right after we got out of the NICU, I had really leaned into any benefit I could get because I just had to. I just had to find every possible benefit. And I was able to get some respite, and it was like actually nursing hours. So there was a nurse that came in 'cause she had a G tube at the time. So she was just a couple months old when the first caregiver came. And I remember at the time I had moved in with my parents because it was COVID and I was on my own and it was just like really tricky. And so I'd moved in with them. And so I had a little bit of help, but also my mom had just gotten diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, so they weren't that much help. So it was tricky. So it was lovely to have this nurse come in, but also I had just gotten home with my baby. I was like, no, no, you can't have her. No, I won't. So I would just leave the room and like go to the other side of the house and look at pictures of her on my phone and cry. I was not really able to fully let go with a caregiver until years later when Kristen took over nannying. And some of the journey to get there, because I always had respite, but I don't know if how many states have this, but in California, we have through the regional centers, you can get respite hours, but then there's a program called self determination, which I joined about a year ago. And what that allows you to do is take your regional center budget and actually, you have more say over how you use it. So you can vendorize someone that's not a vendor, you can set rates. So instead of my having to get someone from their agencies, where they're paid like $16 an hour. I mean, you get a certain standard of caregiving when you get somebody through an agency. They're not there as like their career role. They just need like a job to fill the time or whatever. And most of the time, that was my experience. You're not getting this like super high quality care or loyalty. It was a constant turnover. It was hard to get people. So it was really a game changer when I became part of the self-determination program and I could say, I want to make this person a vendor and I want to pay her a really good rate so that she is satisfied and she doesn't need to go find another job. So that was part of what it took to get there.
Lynn, if you went through any kind of transition period,
Man, I go through
transitioning
so
from multi-caregiver to single caregiver, what did that look like at the time?
well, I think for those of us that are divorced, I mean, that was the first thing that comes to mind. So you go from a two-parent household to a one-parent household, and that's a huge change for everybody, right? For your other children, for yourself, for money, for housing, for everything. That's a huge transition. Sometimes these diagnoses either strengthen your marriage or they tear it apart. And so it's a lot of work, and it's a work to do your marriage to begin with, but then add a rare disease in there. And anyway, so that was a big transition into single parenting and just kind of trying to make hello, I'm a single parent. When am I going to work? Where am I going to work? I'm a nurse, right? I can't work my 12-hour overnight shifts at the hospital. What am I going to do? I can't leave my kids home by themselves. That's generally frowned upon, So it was a lot of help. My parents were phenomenal, John, and they really helped. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. I don't even know. I have no idea. I wouldn't have been able to survive. So that I think that was the biggest transition, and then finding, as you said, when John did need some other additional help, finding PCAs for him, and that was a transition of just finding good quality folks that would show up on time, and Yeah, I don't know. Life is always, I'm constantly transitioning. So, but as a single parent, I guess it is a little bit, it's different. It looks different. Kind of got to do things a little bit more on your own.
Mhm. I'm I'm transitioning in perimenopause. So I often feel like it would be nice to be alone, but that's a side story.
Well, I think even people that aren't single, right? Or single parents, I'm so, well, probably because my life has made me so, I need to control things. I need to be in control. Even if I was with somebody, I don't know that I would let them be a part of that stuff or because I need to control. So, I mean, maybe there's a lot more married kind of single people out there too that aren't sharing the burden or don't feel that somebody else would step up.
I think about
Mhm.
that sometimes, that it might actually be more complicated to try to co-parent in this situation. I mean, I suppose it's you just play the hand you're dealt. So this is what I know. But now that I'm used to doing things with her my way, because I've been the only one here deciding what the way is, it would be tricky to try to bring someone else into that who might have their own ideas about how things should be done.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So when you think about the challenges that are there for single caregivers, where do you need help and what do you think that help looks like and how can people create that help, whether your community or an organization like PWSA? That's a really big question.
I guess it depends on what kind of help we're talking about. The practical help with things. As I said, I am leaning into every possible benefit, and there are a lot in California to be had, which is so wonderful. And I'm really, really grateful to live here for that reason. So, I mean, even if I am having a hard time getting a particular service through our Medicare, Medi-Cal. The insurance company, like the group will have a department. If you ask, they often don't advertise these things, but if you ask, there is somebody there that will help coordinate like between providers or what. I mean, there's just all kinds of things. You don't know what you don't know. And I learned that really quickly. And so when you just ask a lot of questions and dig and talk to people who have been there, you can get a lot of resources, and that help is game changing. That would be my advice to anybody starting this journey. Like, look for all the resources. And then when you don't think there are any more, look for more because they are there. But there's no handout. There's no like, here's all the things, but they do exist. I also think just like the caregiving thing is game changing. I've been trying to figure out a way to get back to the things that make me me beyond being a mom. And what has been so defining about this journey as a single parent, as a caregiver. I mean, as I mentioned, my job now, I'm officially an IHSS caregiver. That is the bulk of my income. That is what pays my bills. That's not what I went to school for. That's not what I saw myself being when I grow up. So, I've had a marketing career. I've had a singing career. I've like done all kinds of different things that are parts of me that I've now in the last few years, it's been a bit of an identity crisis, a bit of a like, okay, but also what do I do with these other parts to me that want to come out, that want to be used, these skills? So where the caregiving and help and services and all the things have been game changing is allowing me to get back to doing some of the other things that make me me so that I'm not feeling like I'm losing my entire identity as everything other than Samantha's mom.
I love that.
Yeah, it's important to still think about yourself too. I think that self-care is an huge part of a caregiver journey and trying to find that and at least do little things or try to, still have parts of yourself that, you're proud of and you can still work towards. And yeah, I'm really glad that you're doing that. And I hope others out there listening are doing that as well or feel inspired to at
If,
minimum.
if you're
So
a creative person, if you have that in you, then that is I mean, I think we all have a creative streak somewhere, but
mhm.
I know like I am an artist in spirit, and if I never quite feel like myself if I'm not doing something creative.
Mm,
So that has been really healing. That is my self-care.
that's great. Lynn, do you think there's any supports that you think could be implemented, like from an organization again, like PWSA, or from the community? or anything. Like my thought here is something similar to like, would a single caregiver Facebook support group or something of that nature be helpful, or putting channels out there for more connection that way? That's just one example of kind of the things that we're thinking about here. But is there anything that has come to mind or does come to mind?
No, I think that would be a good idea because definitely there are differences with for folks that are
Right.
single parenting, and I think any level of support that people can get from a community that gets it or would be helpful. Just like you mentioned, Mandy, the resources. I mean, that's really what we need, and I think that PWSA USA does a great job of having so many resources and trying to house them all and keep them updated. But the Facebook groups too, reach out to your people in your home state. Hey, give me some ideas. This is what I'm looking for. That's what's really important too. So I think we do a good job. But yeah, I think, single parenting Facebook group might bring people together for sure to help with some of those unique challenges.
Yeah, just a space to like have open communication and talk through some of those, resources in individual states, or to just share there are resources in your state. Go check them out.
Yeah. Is there anything that you felt like you really wanted to say in this interview that you haven't been able to say?
Or any final advice for others maybe listening?
So I probably don't have any advice that anyone should listen to. Again, just do what you can do. And my coping mechanism is I just have this odd sense of humor, and that's how I am not in the corner rocking back and forth. It's just I just gotta laugh and
It's great
finding
advice.
humor in the little things. Yeah, because what else are you gonna do?
I'm in that camp as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am trying to give myself as much grace as possible, not only for my own ability to just survive this and like be an okay, reasonably happy person, but also because I know that, I mean, God, having a kid, and this is probably true with any kid, but having a kid, they're a little mirror, and it's such a lesson. Like all the unhealed parts of you come up, and my feeling, and I've taken this as like an opportunity, the inspiration to try to heal the parts of me that are unhealed so that she can, I know someday I'll be the voice in her head. And so if she can see me giving myself grace, then she can give herself grace. If she can see me advocating for myself when I need help, when I need a break, talking about my feelings, saying I'm having a hard time, like then she knows that it's okay to do that, and she'll be better equipped. So I think about that because there's so many times that I feel like I'm a terrible parent. I feel like I can't possibly be enough for her. And then I just try to spin that and go, she is learning what grit looks like. And I want her to be a kid with grit. She has grit, and I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautifully said.
Hmm.
Yeah, speaking to like real truths and real things going on in your life. It's hard to do, but we really appreciate it, and we're really hoping it can speak to other parents out there.
Well, thank you
So,
for having the conversation with us, because I think it's hard to always feel seen as a single parent. A lot of times they default to talking to parents as a
Hmm.
duo. And so being willing to have a conversation that focuses on this is beautiful. It's nice to feel seen and heard. So thank you.
oh,
Yeah,
good.
thank you. I agree that it's a nice to be recognized as a single parent. Just we're here, we're proud, we're out there, we're loud, right? Hopefully,
Yeah.
we need your support. Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of PWS United. If you want to learn more about Prader-Willi syndrome and how PWSA USA is making strides in advocacy, family support, and research, visit www.pwsausa.org. And while you're there, we encourage you to sign up for our Pulse email newsletter to stay informed about the latest news, resources, and events. Don't forget to subscribe to the PWS United podcast so you never miss an episode. Our team is always available to support families and their loved ones living with PWS 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can call us at 941-312-0400 or email info@pwsausa.org. Catch a new episode next Tuesday, and until then, have a great week.